Hi, here's how to prorate property taxes on closing disclosure documents. Prorated expenses on closing documents. A closing disclosure presents the buyer and seller with a financial summary of the deal. Items are credited and debited to each party according to who is liable for the charge or who is benefiting. Property tax proration. Property tax is paid in arrears. To account for the taxes that the seller will owe but will be billed to the buyer when the tax bill comes out, the seller will owe the buyer at closing the amount of property tax calculated from the beginning of the year through the day before closing. Property tax formula. To work property tax formula problems, first you have to calculate seller days. The number of days that the seller will have owned the property and owes the buyer for taxes, starting from January 1st to the day before closing. You then calculate the daily tax rate by taking the total tax due and divide by 365 days, unless you're using the statutory method, of course, and then that would be 360 days. You multiply the daily tax rate by the number of seller days. This is then entered as a debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer. Story problem. A property is closing on May 15th. Property tax for the year is $1,580. Using actual days, how would the tax be prorated and entered on the closing statement? Property tax, story problem. To solve this problem, you have to recognize that closing is scheduled for May 15th. You have to calculate then seller days as being from January 1st through May 14th. That's actually 134 days. Because we're using actual days, you have to know how many days are in a month to solve these problems. We have 28 days in February added to the 31 days of January, plus the 31 days in March and 30 days in April, plus 14 days in May, stopping with the day before the closing date. This equals 134 days. Now, the total tax for the year being charged to the property is $1,580. So we're going to divide that by $365 to give us our per day rate for tax. And in this case, it's $4.32. It's $4 for 0.328771 per day. When you do your calculations, just leave the long figure in your calculator and then immediately multiply that by the number of seller days, which was 134. That's going to equal $580.05. This is then entered on the closing disclosure as a debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer. Prorations. Make sure you can calculate prorations. It is an important topic for testing and practice as a real estate licensee. Personally, I am a very visual person, so when I have one of these problems, I'll take a scratch paper or a whiteboard and literally draw the monthly calendar for the month of closing in the problem. Then I mark which days are sellers and which days are buyers. This helps me to keep it straight. This might not be necessary for you to do, but my point is to make sure that you know this process well. And if you need any tricks to help in the process, be sure to take the time to do it. Although finals are timed, taking a moment to steady yourself with tricks like this can really make a difference in adding points for a passing grade.